"Hey, Mr. Jones, don't chicken it." Then Mr. Jones looks at me like I'm crazy, laughs a little bit, and then I say, "Hey, you know how a chicken moves, right? It will make your life and your patient's motion 10 times better. It's a perfect opportunity for you to raise your standard." The next time you're coaching a patient or a client through a lunge, I want you to stop them before they do it. And in doing so, I want you to say, "Mr. Jones, what do you think about when you are performing a lunge?" And 9 times out of 10, Mr. Jones is going to say nothing. That's normal, that's completely fine, but it's a perfect opportunity for you to raise your standards and to start to provide the awareness that is necessary for success. What do I mean by that? I mean that your patient can't change something unless they are first aware of it. So that compensation that's happening during a lunge, that patient or Mr. Jones has no idea it's happening. They aren't aware of it. So we need to increase the awareness. Once you increase the awareness sufficiently, then you give the strategies. That's what gets people moving optimally. So what I want you to do when it comes to the lunge is to change your language and to use 3 simple cues that will change the perspective of your patient or client and get them thinking about it in a way that will lead them to success. The first strategy is to start to think about the rear leg. Most of the time, people overthink about the front leg, and when that happens, they tend to move in the wrong trajectory. So when you focus on the rear leg, what's going to happen is it's going to maintain a vertical heel. This vertical heel is required for good motion in the normal trajectory. So get your patient to remove their focus from the front leg. Tell them, "Hey, Mr. Jones, I want you to just think about the rear leg when you are performing your lunge." And this leads us to our second strategy. And that is, "Mr. Jones, I want you to move like an elevator, not an escalator." During a lunge, we need a vertical trajectory, not a horizontal one. If that rear foot is not vertical, then your patient or client won't move like an elevator. So again, step 1, getting them to that rear leg is really critical so that they can actually move like an elevator. And the third and final cue is my all-time favorite, and that is, "Hey, Mr. Jones, don't chicken it." Then Mr. Jones looks at me like I'm crazy, laughs a little bit, and then I say, "Hey, you know how a chicken moves, right?" 9 times out of 10, they know how it moves, right? This bobbling motion. That chicken bobbling motion is a better way to avoid spinal flexion and extension, because here's the thing. When Mr. Jones is tired, when Mr. Jones is holding weight in his hands, and he goes to compensate, what do you think the first compensation is going to be? It's going to be spinal flexion and extension, like a chicken moves. So what we are doing is putting in a language that he understands, and that is that forward and backwards bobbling motion, a momentous motion. We are trying to avoid that, so every time that Mr. Jones now performs a lunge, he is going to do so in a way that is avoiding this spinal flexion and extension. Quick recap here. The 3 strategies we're thinking about are rear foot, really focusing on that rear foot. It will make your life and your patient's motion 10 times better when you focus the rear foot, because then it leads to an elevator motion, which is our second strategy. We want elevator-like motions, not an escalator. Escalator is going to be more for our hinging and deadlift type motions. So rear foot focus allows us to drop that knee straight down like an elevator. Things are moving well. And the third strategy is don't chicken it. We are using the chicken as a representation to avoid excessive spinal flexion and extension. Use this, and I promise your patients and clients will look so much better with their lunge, and they will be able to use a lot more weight and at a higher intensity because they now know how to not compensate.